Well, as educational technology has become more prevalent and more students have access to a personalized education through online education, through being able to do their homework and read their textbooks online, a lot of issues have uh, families have articulated a lot of concerns about what's being done with all the data that their student generates. When their student enters under their own login ID information about what they like to do or their hobbies or information about what level they might be at in a particular academic field, is that information being sold to companies? Are they being targeted for specific advertising without parental consent as a minor? And the answer is that there really isn't a legal framework that provides parents with a level of privacy that they can be confident in. And as a result, there's been a little bit of a brushback, and we saw that in Jeffco with the backlash against the InBloom data system that the district had implemented to parse student data in new ways. And to recognize the promise of educational technology, we need to do a better job establishing a framework for privacy so parents can be confident that they know how the information is being used, that their child enters, and they have some rights to opt out or delete it.
So this isn't necessarily a reaction to abuses that you've seen, it's more preventive at this point?
Yeah, there's a lack of visibility into abuses that may or may not have occurred right now. Again, so we've been able to get, me and my colleague Luke Messer from Indiana, who's a Republican, have implemented a best practices document that we've had over 100 companies sign that are really the best actors that have agreed to abide by reasonable privacy protocols. But the reason we believe it needs to be in statute is it should also apply to bad actors who might not sign a privacy pledge, so that parents can have the confidence that the information that their kids enter in school is used appropriately and not inappropriately.
The Trans-Pacific Partnership, which I guess is not yet in final form before the Congress, but you held an interesting event at CU. Give me your thoughts on what you've heard about the proposal, and then also your thoughts on the reaction that you've gotten back here in the district.
Well, I think it's very exciting to a lot of local small businesses and others that we might have access to markets that have traditionally been closed to American products like Japan. My goal throughout the process has been to bring our trade negotiators to hear from our own local residents, businesses, civil society groups, so that our concerns here in the 2nd Congressional District of Colorado can be addressed in the trade treaties. So we've had USTR reps meet with local small businesses last year. They met with concerned citizens this year at a forum at CU. We've had several telephone town halls where we've invited officials from the U.S. Trade Office and from the White House to listen to concerns that residents of our area have about trade. In general, I think the residents of our district believe in commercial ties and trade between countries. They want to see those ties strengthened. They also believe that America should play a leadership role in making sure that some of the things we stand for as a country, whether that means the rights of workers, whether that means environmental protections, should be reflected in our trade arrangements across the world.
So you've gotten some pushback from the communication workers and others in organized labor. What's your take on their position? Can you bring them around, or are they persuasive to you on any level?
Well, trade affects different areas of the country in different ways. And so this is a district and a state that's generally seen a lot of the positive impacts of trade. We have a very strong export-based economy, a lot of small, medium, and large businesses that have sales globally that do a lot of business. There's no doubt that there's other representatives from other areas of the country where they've seen the side of trade where it's led to loss of jobs in their area. But the trade-supported economy in our district represents tens of thousands of jobs and has an enormous opportunity to grow through access to new markets in the fast-growing Pacific Rim.
Immigration reform, generally speaking, what are you doing on that topic right now?
So there's a lot happening in the realm of immigration. Now, it's not all happening legislatively. With the current Congress, they're not putting forward a comprehensive immigration reform bill. There's bits and pieces that we might be able to work in a bipartisan way I'm the lead sponsor of a category called EB5, which are investor visas, which generate capital for American projects and developments, and I also am involved with H-1B and other high skills categories. However, the biggest progress with regard to addressing the issue of immigration has been made by the president through executive action. So he had the DACA, or Deferred Action Program, and now DAPA, which is scheduled to be 4 or 5 times larger. So the first executive action applied to the Dreamers, young people who grew up in this country, knew no other country, provided them with a temporary work permit. This new executive action applies to, in effect, the parents of American children, and provides them a route to have a work permit card and at least a temporary ability to work legally in our country. We have scheduled over a dozen clinics across schools, community centers across Colorado. At one of our kickoff briefings at Boulder High, over 600 people attended, just to show the level of interest in being able to normalize and get paperwork undergoing a background check that would allow them to work legally. Yesterday we met with a Mexican consul who works out of Denver. They've cooperated with us and are working very hard to help get at least Mexican-American families the paperwork they need to qualify, usually involving access to birth certificates, passports, other information they may not have with them. And we look forward to having dozens more of these sessions across the state to help make sure that Coloradans are well poised to take advantage of the new DAPA law, which is currently tied up in the court, but we hope will be unblocked within the next month or two.
Do you have any idea roughly in terms of numbers, how big of populations are we talking about, first with respect to the Dreamers and then second with respect to the parents?
We're expecting that the new DAPA program will affect between 60 and 80,000 Coloradans will be eligible for it.
Is that right?
Yeah, so and that's a large number of applications to process. Just as we did with DACA, we want really Colorado to lead the way in our pro rata percentage. We did a similar effort with DACA. We had a number of clinics and we helped people register, and we can get you the exact numbers. And this is 4 to 5 times the size of DACA, so we really have to be ready to make sure that people have access to advice about how they can do it, that they're not giving their money to scrupulous individuals who are trying to advise in this way, and that they can assemble their paperwork and apply.